Your phone hasn't buzzed in 3 years. Not for this account. You turned off the notifications a long time ago, back when every dip felt like a fire alarm going off in your pocket, in the middle of a meeting, in the middle of dinner, in the middle of nothing at all. Now the number just sits there. Quiet. Here's the question underneath all of it, before we get anywhere near your account. At some point, for almost every long-term saver, the money already sitting there starts adding more to your future than the money you're currently putting in. Nobody tells you when that day arrives. There's no letter in the mail, no app update. Most people never even notice it happening. This is the story of that day. Not a magic number. The day the math quietly changes hands. Level 1, $22,000. You're 24. Your paycheck lands at $3,400 a month after taxes. You live in a studio apartment in Richmond, the kind with a window unit instead of central air. It rattles at night. You've stopped hearing it. Every month, $400 leaves your checking account before you can spend it. Automatic. You set it up once and never touched the settings again. That's the whole system. No spreadsheet, no app that pings you with encouragement. Just a transfer, on a schedule, that doesn't ask how you feel about it. There's a grocery receipt on the counter you haven't thrown out. Laundry's been sitting in the dryer for 2 days. Nobody calls you about your account. No advisor, no bank. The balance just grows slowly, the way grass grows. You can't see it moving, but you check back in a month and it's different. In March, the car makes a sound it hasn't made before. A grinding somewhere near the front left wheel. You take it in, $640. Brake pads, rotors, a belt that was apparently about to go anyway. You have the money, barely. It's sitting in checking exactly enough if you don't also want to eat for the next 2 weeks. And there's an easier place to get it. The $400 scheduled to leave on the 15th. You could just not. Skip 1 month. Nobody would know. The account wouldn't complain. You sit with the cursor over the button that pauses it. You don't press it. You eat cheaper for 2 weeks instead. Rice, whatever's on sale, the sandwich from home, instead of the one from the shop near the office. It's not a hardship exactly. It's just tighter than you'd like. You don't remember this moment later. That's the thing about it. It doesn't feel significant while it's happening. It just feels like a decision about groceries. You believe something at this level and you believe it completely. You believe that saving more means winning faster. Put in more, get more. That's the whole equation. And here's the thing. Right now, you're right. Every extra $50 you find an ad shows up. It matters. It moves the number. You don't know yet that this won't always be true. You don't know there's a point coming where the math shifts on you, quietly, without an announcement. Right now, effort and result are holding hands, walking in the same direction. That won't last forever. It's just not obvious yet why. $210,000. You're 31 now. Same routine. Same $400 leaving your account every month. Nothing about your behavior has changed. You still eat the same lunches. You still drive the same car. The one with the check engine light you've learned to ignore. The one that's been on so long you've stopped mentioning it to people. But something happened in the account that you didn't do. You open your statement one Sunday night, just checking, out of habit more than anything. And the quarter just added $22,000. $22,000. You do the math without meaning to. That's more than you put in all last year. All of it. From a market that didn't ask your permission, didn't check in, didn't need you awake for it. You sit on the couch for a while with that number. You try to remember what $22,000 used to mean to you. 7 years ago it was the whole account, the entire thing you had. Now it's what showed up in 3 months without you doing anything except not touching it. Here's the part nobody explained to you growing up. At $22,000, your $400 a month was basically the whole engine. It was almost the entire reason the number moved. Now, a single decent year at a hypothetical 7% adds something close to $15,000 on its own, more than 3 years of contributions done by the balance itself while you were doing something else entirely. Sleeping, buying groceries, ignoring a check engine light. The math didn't break, it just started pulling more of its own weight. Then the calls start. Not calls exactly. An email first from someone named Delia Okafor, financial advisor, the kind of title with a firm's logo stamped in the signature, the kind of email that opens with your first name like you already know each other. She wants 15 minutes of your time. Part of the reason she's calling is simple. Your account is now large enough to matter to her firm's numbers, not just yours. That doesn't make her dishonest. It just means her attention was never random. You take the meeting anyway. Why not? Her office has a window that looks out over a parking garage and a bowl of mints on the desk that nobody touches. She's polite. She talks about diversification, about fees, about your long-term glide path, a phrase you write down and never look at again. Some of it is useful. Most of it is a version of the same pitch, dressed up as a conversation. Near the end, she asks what your number is. Your target, the one you're building toward. You don't have an answer. You've never been asked the question before, not really, not by anyone with a title and a logo. You say something vague. She nods like it's a normal answer. It probably is. You leave with a strange feeling you can't quite name. Not excitement, not relief either. It's this. The thing that used to move your account the most wasn't only you anymore. For 7 years the story was simple. Save more, get more. Discipline in, progress out. Clean, controllable. You liked that it was controllable. Now there's a second force in the room. Bigger than you, some months. Quieter than you, always. Something shifted. Not the balance. The thing that used to move it. $600,000. A Tuesday. Nothing marks it. You're not watching for it. That's the strange part. The morning it happens, you're not even thinking about money. You're making coffee. The dog needs to go out. Somewhere in the middle of that, without you noticing the exact second, your account crosses $600,000. You find out an hour later, standing in the kitchen, scrolling on your phone the way you always do, first thing before you're even fully awake. And there it is. 6,0,0,0. No one claps. There's no notification that says congratulations. The app just shows the number. The same font, the same gray background it always uses for good news and bad news alike. It looked exactly the same the day you were down $11,000 in a single week 2 years ago. It looks exactly the same now. You should feel something. You wait for it. You stand there a second longer than you need to, coffee going lukewarm, waiting for the version of this moment you always imagined, the relief, the exhale, the sense that you've arrived somewhere. You'd pictured this once, years ago, back when 600,000 was a number so far off it barely felt real. You thought it would feel like a door opening. It doesn't come. Instead, you open Instagram. 20 seconds later, an ad slides across your screen. A retirement calculator. Big friendly numbers, a couple on a beach who look like they've never once worried about a car repair. It tells you the average person needs a little over $1 million to retire comfortably. Maybe it says 1.4 million, maybe 2. The exact figure isn't really the point. You just crossed 600,000, and somehow, in the space of 20 seconds, you've gone from feeling like you did something to feeling like you're less than halfway to anything. You do the math the ad wants you to do. 600,000 against that bigger number. The gap looks enormous suddenly. It looked like the biggest number you'd ever seen attached to your own name 20 minutes ago. Now it looks like the beginning of a much longer road than you thought you were on. Here's what's actually happening in that moment. And it's worth sitting with. That number on the screen didn't come from your life. It didn't come from your rent, your city, your plan, whether your house is paid off, whether you're stopping at 55 or working until 70. It came from a survey. An average, built from people spending like nobody in particular, retiring nowhere in particular, at an age that fits no one exactly, including you. But your brain doesn't check sources. Your brain just compares, and the comparison alone makes 600,000 feel small, even though 20 minutes earlier before the ad, it felt like the biggest number you'd ever seen attached to your own name. You put the phone down, you let the dog out. The number on the app hasn't moved an inch since you first saw it this morning. The number didn't change in those 20 minutes. The feeling did. 600,000 isn't a magic number, by the way. It's not universal. It's just the point. in this story where the math stopped being something you could ignore. 6 months later, the market drops. Not a headline at first. Just red numbers on your phone one morning, the kind you've scrolled past 100 times without stopping. You almost scrolled past this one too. Then you check the account. $600,000. $480,000. $120,000 gone in 6 weeks, without you doing a single thing to cause it. $120,000. You try to picture what that number actually is. It's not abstract to you. You know exactly what it is. It's the down payment on the house you almost bought last year. It's several years of the $400 a month you used to transfer, back when $400 felt like the whole plan. Gone, while you were asleep, most of it. The dryer buzzes in the next room. You ignore it. Your phone buzzes too, a few minutes later. A text from a coworker, someone you sit 2 desks from, someone who started investing around the same time you did. You seeing this? I'm moving everything to cash tomorrow morning. Can't watch this anymore. You type back something non-committal. You don't tell him what you're actually thinking, which is, you don't know if that's the right move or the wrong one. Nobody does. Not really. Not in the moment. You just know what you're planning to do, which is nothing, and you're not confident enough in that plan to argue with him about his. 2 days later, he sends another text. Did it. Feels better already. You don't respond to that one right away. Your thumb hovers over your own app that same evening. There's a button, you know the one. Sell. Move it to cash. Stop the bleeding, that's the phrase running through your head, like the account is a wound and you're the one holding the gauze. You don't press it. You don't press it because of something you remember from years ago, a version of yourself who used to check this same account every single Friday out of nothing but habit. Back at 24, when checking it didn't do anything except make you feel like you were paying attention. Back when a car repair could put a $400 transfer in question and you let the groceries get cheaper instead. That habit is still in you. Except now, it's not fear driving it. It's just routine. You check the number, you feel the cold drop in your stomach, you close the app. That's the whole action. Open, look, close. Nobody sees it. No one texts you to say well done. 3 weeks later, your coworker mentions quietly, near the coffee machine, that he moved back in. Higher than where he sold. He doesn't say how much higher. You don't ask. Here's what you don't know yet. Coffee going cold in your hand that first night. If you'd sold that morning, moved the $120,000 into cash, the loss stops being something the market did to you and becomes something you did to yourself. Permanent. Nobody can promise a recovery shows up on any particular schedule. But staying in is what gives one the chance to include you, if it comes. That habit, checking a number out of nothing but repetition, didn't make you rich that morning. It just kept the door open. A year later. No crash this time. That's what makes this one dangerous. The account is back, $690,000, sitting there on a Thursday night, recovered, and then some. You should feel good. Mostly, you do. But there are 2 voices in your head now. You didn't invite either of them. They just showed up sometime over the last year, and they've been taking turns ever since, usually late, usually when you're alone with the phone and nothing else to look at. The first voice sounds careful. Reasonable. It says, we can't afford to lose that again. Not now. Not after watching $120,000 disappear in 6 weeks. Move some of it somewhere safer. Bonds, cash, something that doesn't do that to you at 2 in the morning. It sounds like wisdom. It sounds like the voice of someone who's finally grown up about money. You have Delia's number saved in your phone, from the meeting 2 years back. One Thursday night, you actually pull it up. Your thumb sits over the call button for a while. You've got the sentence half built in your head already. Something about wanting to talk through reducing equity exposure, moving towards something more conservative, the kind of phrase you picked up sitting in her office that first time. You don't call. Not because you've made some clear-headed decision against it. You just don't, that night. You put the phone down and go do something else. Dishes, maybe, or nothing in particular. And the moment passes the way most moments do, without you marking it as anything. Here's the trade-off that phone call would have set in motion, and it's less about stocks versus bonds than it sounds. Take the 600,000 you had before the crash as a simple illustration. At a hypothetical 7% a year, that grows to something close to 1.66 million in 15 years. De-risks into safer, lower return assets instead, closer to 3%, and that same 15 years lands you around 935,000, roughly $700,000 of difference. That's not a verdict on bonds. It's the cost of changing a plan that didn't actually need changing, just to make the fear quieter for one Thursday night. Then there's the second voice. It doesn't show up on the bad nights, it shows up on the good ones, usually after a strong quarter, when the number looks especially solid. It says, "Look at this. You did it. You can relax now." Relaxing sounds so reasonable too. 1 month. The $400 doesn't go out on schedule. You catch it a few days later, half by accident, and you just let it slide instead of rescheduling it. A vacation gets paid out of the emergency fund instead of saved for first, and you tell yourself you'll top the fund back up next month. You don't, quite. Nobody would call any single one of these things reckless. That's what makes it dangerous. None of them feel like a mistake while they're happening. Each one feels like something you've earned the right to do. Two voices. Same root. One says the number is too fragile to trust. The other says the number is safe enough to stop trying. Building this took aggression. Every dollar you fought for, every month you didn't skip, even the one where the car needed brakes and you ate rice instead of pausing the transfer. Keeping it takes the opposite. Most people never make that trade. 15 years later, you're 46. You're standing in a kitchen again. A different one, bigger, the kind you couldn't have pictured back when the window unit rattled all night in Richmond. There's a dishwasher now, instead of a dish rack. The dog is different too. Older, grayer around the muzzle, slower getting up off the floor. So are you in your own way. You open the app out of habit, the same habit that's followed you since 24. Something close to $1,660,000. You stand there for a second, coffee in hand, thinking about a Thursday night 15 years ago. A night you barely remember choosing because it never felt like choosing anything. You had Delia's number pulled up on your screen. You had the sentence half built. You just didn't press call. There was no ceremony to it. No moment where you sat yourself down and declared, "Tonight I decide who I become with this money." You just put the phone down and did the dishes instead. In between that night and this one, there were other nights like it. A stretch in your late 30s where the market went sideways for what felt like forever, and you genuinely considered pulling back, twice. A year where a job ended unexpectedly and the $400 almost didn't go out for 3 straight months, and then did anyway, a little late once you found your footing again. None of those moments felt significant while they were happening either. They just felt like Tuesdays. Like grocery decisions, like closing an app. That's the part that gets you, standing here now. None of it felt like a decision at the time. It felt like nothing. Like the version of you back then, checking the balance on a Friday out of pure repetition, not even sure why anymore, just because that's what your hands did on Fridays. The money compounded. Everybody talks about part, the rate, the reinvested dividends, the machine running quietly in the background, adding zeros nobody had to work a single extra hour for. But something else compounded too. The habit of not touching it. The habit of closing the app instead of pressing the button. The habit of letting a bad month pass without needing to fix it immediately, trusting that the next one would come and mostly correct for it. That compounded the same way the money did. Quietly, one unremarkable choice at a time, until it wasn't a choice anymore. It was just who you were. You think for a second about the other version, the one who made that call that Thursday night instead of putting the phone down. That version is standing in a different kitchen right now, somewhere, looking at a number closer to 935,000, still comfortable, still fine, but wondering, in some quiet, unspoken way, where the difference went. It just never got the chance to happen. The dog barks at the door. You set the phone down and go let her out. Somewhere right now, a phone is buzzing, not yours. You turned that off years ago. Somewhere else in a studio apartment with a window unit that rattles all night, someone is 24, staring at a small number, $61, maybe 22,000. It doesn't much matter which. Small enough that it still hurts to look at. There's a grocery receipt on their counter they haven't thrown out either. A car somewhere making a sound it hasn't made before or about to. They check the account every Friday. Out of habit. Out of nothing but repetition. The same way you once did before the habit turned into anything worth naming. They don't know yet what that habit is going to become. They don't know there's a night coming, years from now, that won't feel like a decision at all. Just a phone put down instead of a call made, dishes done instead of a sentence finished. They don't know a number is going to show up on a screen someday and make a real number feel like nothing for about 20 minutes before it passes. They think this is about the money. The $400 leaves the account. Automatic, on schedule, the way it always has. It doesn't guarantee anything. It just gives the compounding a chance to work.